Do you hate momentum or aren't a fan of using your movement skills in order to do damage? Well, if that's true for you, then this build, the no mover build, is for you. Before we get to the video, a lot of my viewers aren't subscribed, so if you're watching this and you're not subscribed, consider hitting the subscribe button. It would really help me out. We're pushing up towards 4,000 subs, and I have tons of great content planned for the future. With that, enjoy the video. And before we dive into the no mover build, which is the colloquial name for the build that doesn't use momentum or any of those movement talents on the left side, I do want to say that this is really only for single target. If you're an AoE, oh, a dragon's walking by me. But if you're an AoE, the no mover build does let a lot to other options. Momentum is just really, really strong in AoE. Same with things like initiative, which we don't take, as well as things like unbound chaos. But if you're in raid and you hate moving, you're a big no mover gamer, then this build is for you. It's only a little bit less. I'll throw up an image on screen, and I'll probably drop links in the description of the BIS build links in the Discord in the Fellhammer Discord that goes over each build. There's one for BIS for mover and no mover, but I just want to say a little disclaimer first that this build does have an asterisk on it about whether it's it's powerful enough in AoE, really only for a single target. But with that out of the way, we will get on and I'll show you guys the talents and we'll discuss it. So here are the no mover talents. Now the left side, the class tree, very standard at this point. You all know and love it. Pretty much Havoc doesn't really change their class tree much. But on the right side, we have a bit of a difference here. We are not taking very common talents such as critical chaos, initiative, unbound chaos, tactical retreat, or momentum. So this is the mover part of the tree, if you will. So effectively what this talent tree is showing us or giving us is a Havoc Demon Hunter build that doesn't use any of your movement at all. You can stand still and do your damage rotation perfectly, which does mean that static empowerment file is a little bit better, but ice file is still our best option. So on this tree here, we have their standard things like in the middle, Shadow Destiny, Cycle of Hatred, Enter Demon, Fierce Gaze, Fart of the Flame. The standard stuff here, this is just bread and butter, the best stuff you want. We are not taking Restless Hunter. It's very good, but we do need the points to get down to Essence Break, and a Restless Hunter would kind of block us here. You do end up having to take a little bit extra points on this left side here. You could drop Glaive Tempest for it, but Glaive Tempest is better. On the left side here, we're going down to grab Essence Break. It's still our most powerful option by a large margin. So we want to get it when it's possible. And to get it here, we come down from Dancing with Fate to Chaos Transformation, Blind Fury into Isolated Prey, Chaos Theory, Know Your Enemy, and Essence Break. This left side here is still probably some of our strongest talents in the entire tree. So we want to take this whenever possible. One of the big reasons why this build isn't as good in AoE, even though you're taking stuff like Glaive Tempest, is the fact that you need to take Isolated Prey. In an AoE pack, you don't really want to have to take Isolated Prey because obviously you're not going to get any value from this. You're only going to get value for this against one singular target, which is when this build really, really shines. On the top here, we are taking our Fury Generation. We've picked up Demonic Appetite, of course, using a lot of Chaos Strikes in this build. Then we've also grabbed Fellfire Heart and Burning Hatred. This little Immolation Aura package couples down here with Growing Inferno and Burning Wound to give us a bit of an Immolation Aura package in single target, while giving us a little bit of cleave through Growing Inferno and multiple Burning Wounds. For Burning Wound, you should, if you're fighting a few targets in like raid or something, you should probably just tab target your auto attacks because Demon Blades does apply it. You can throw a Glaive, however, Glaives are a little bit of a wasted GCD. You generally don't want to have to throw your Glaive out to do damage. Tab targeting is going to be a little bit better if you can afford that. We also are grabbing Relentless Onslaught, which is an interesting option to say the least. Basically, we are grabbing this so we can lock the bottom gate. There's not a lot of other good options. 1 point in Critical Chaos is bad. Serity Glaive is also bad. There's no point in taking Furious Throws. We're not taking any of the Glaive stuff. And then Improved Fel Rush. Well, we're not going to be using our Fel Rushes, right? So this is kind of the last good option, the last option here at all, really, for us to take to come down and unlock the bottom part of our tree here and get access to all these talents at the bottom. We're taking Glaive Tempest because it's a good standalone talent. Gives a little bit of cleave. Works well with Cycle of Hatred. Again, if you want more burst, you can take Restless Hunter, but Glaive Tempest is going to end up being better for you. In this build, you can drop out Relentless Onslaught if you need to take up Fel Eruption or something. However, to get down into Nether Walk, you do end up taking a pretty big loss. You're going to have to drop stuff like Relentless Onslaught and probably these talents to get down into unlocking Nether Walk, just because of the fact that we aren't taking Critical Chaos as a baseline. which in turn ends up reducing how much talents we have on the top of the tree. It's a pretty big loss in this build, so you generally don't want to, if you have to take another walk, probably don't play this build because it's just how big of a loss it is. But it is there, and if you do want to take it, need to take it, you'd probably end up doing something a little bit like this. Obviously, your immolation aura is going to be a little bit weaker, but these talents here are really, really good. Just as a baseline, you could probably even drop out Burning Wound for maybe Fellfire Heart. Unsure how the damage would be on that. I haven't simmed it, but that option is there. But generally, if you need to take Nether Walk, just play a different build. It's just such a big loss to take Nether Walk with this build that generally you just really don't want to. And just re-click all these here. We are taking Far to the Flame because it's just a very good talent. If you want a little bit more burst, Elysian Decree is fine. It's an option. But we're playing this in single target. Elysian Decree in single target is not that good. Elysian Decree in general is just a little bit lackluster. So Far to the Flame, very good. But if you hate the demon, you can swap over here. And that's about it for the talent tree. So it's pretty interesting. It's very different from a lot of other builds we have. Not taking these things on the side here definitely weakens us a little bit in certain scenarios, but in single target, this build is still very viable. It's only about 3k behind Momentum Saturn Destiny, which is our Abyss build. So if you're not comfortable playing Momentum, or if there's a fight where a lot of movement kind of messes you up and you're not used to it yet, then this build is very viable and very useful for you. It's just that in AoE it does fall behind a little bit. So we'll go over into a little bit of rotation now, and I'll show you guys how to play this build. It's not complex. It's very classical Demon Hunter 2-button rotation, if you will. But you know, it's still a classic Demon Hunter, and it's still pretty enjoyable. So we'll swap over to that now. So we'll go a bit into the rotation now. Now I will say with a little asterisk, my haste very low. I have 6%. Generally in raid you want a little bit more. I'll show you guys the opener with double Essence Break, double Death Sweep inside your Essence Break window, which you should be able to do with Furious Gaze from I-Beam, but keep in mind that you do want a little bit more haste than I do. So we'll have our little target here. We're going to start with Sigil of Flame, 2 seconds before pull, like always. I won't do trinkets, but really Grief Torch you use on pull, and Puzzle Box you use 2 seconds before pull, basically right after you put down your Sigil of Flame. So we'll throw on Sigil of Flame, we'll wait for it to go off. I'm going to hunt in this time because I'm a little out of combat. Then we'll do that, and then we're going to drop a Glaive Tempest. We'll drop an I-Beam. We'll use one of our Death Annihilations. Then we'll use Essence Break. Then we'll use Death Sweep, Meta, and then Death Sweep again, followed with another Annihilation, and then I-Beam. So it's very, very similar to our opener with Momentum, except you're basically just not pushing or moving anything at all. You really want to make sure you're using Immolation Aura on cooldown here and using all your other Fury generational abilities. This build's a little bit different, where we don't have the Fury gain from Vengeful Retreat or from just Fell Rushing through a target. So our Fury is actually going to be a little bit less, like just generation-wise than it otherwise would be, which is going to be a little bit harder to have the Fury you need. It's not bad per se, like it's not really like a tough time, but it is a little bit lower because you don't have that on-demand Fury all the time from things like Fell Rush or from things like Vengeful Retreat. So it's very important that you're kind of strafing side to side whenever you can to pick up your little souls, just to make sure that you get that Fury generation from your Shadowed Souls, not Shadowed Souls, but from the Demonic Appetite talent. So all I'm doing here basically is I'm just pushing things as they light up. Rotation is not very hard. I'm just spamming Chaos Strike as much as I can. I'm spending my Fury when I can. I'm using Death Sweep as much as possible. You don't really need to line up basically anything with this build because Essence Break's almost always going to come off whenever you have Death Sweep. You're not trying to really sync your Essence Break with anything really. It's very important if you can to get 2 Death Sweeps in your demonic window. I didn't there, but you do want to try to do that if possible. So see here, I'm actually a little Fury starved, so I got to reset, so we're good. I'll use the hunt. So rotation, not complex at all. Basically just using buttons as they light up. If Essence Break's almost off cooldown, so about like 8 seconds or so, then you should probably end up holding it just so that you can get the little bit of a link, a little bit of continuation there from your I-Beam. If you can as well, try not to use any Fury generation abilities inside your I-Beam Essence Break window. You want to try and have things rolling or enough Fury going into it. But, you know, sometimes things happen, you get a little unlucky, your haste is low, whatever. But really, you know, just push those buttons on cooldown and use Essence Break, and you're off to the races and doing good. This damage is a little bit lower. I'm only doing 60k roughly on the single target. I can do more with the other build, but again, I'm not moving at all. This is very, very easy, very not complex at all. It's very mechanic proof, I guess I could say as well, because there's just nothing that can really catch me out. Like if the mechanic happens right now, I have a Fel Rush to get out, I can even Fel Rush back in after, and I'd be very fine. Or I could Vengeful Retreat out and then Fel Rush back in if I had a Fel Rush charge there. So there are benefits to this build over the other build. The rotation is very easy. Very, very, very easy. Just remember, use your Glaive Tempest before your Essence Break window. Sync your Essence Break with I-Beam whenever possible, and just use your Button Zone cooldown. That's really it. This build is not complex, but it can do very good damage for you if you don't like moving, or if you're on a fight that's a little bit more complex. So that is my video guide on the no mover build. Again, this build's not that good in AoE because you're not taking things like initiative, which is just so powerful for us in dungeons, but it does have some game in raid if you are having a little trouble with momentum, or you just don't like moving, or maybe there's a boss fight with really intense movement mechanics that you just want to be a little bit safer on. This build does do well there. Again, it is not better than the other one. The other one is about 3,000 DPS higher in our Abyss Sim, give or take. So keep that in mind, grain of salt and everything. But that is the guide for this video. If you liked it, leave a like, drop a comment down below if you have any questions, anything else you want to see me cover, all that jazz. And if you really enjoyed it, drop a sub. It would really help me out. We are pushing up higher and higher each day in our sub count. I just want to say thanks to everybody for that. So with that, I will leave that here. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Catch you guys next time. Peace.